Welcome to AI Unraveled, your daily briefing on how technology is changing the way we live, work, and connect. It is Friday, April 3rd, 2026. I'm your host, Etienne Newman. Today's episode is brought to you by Area and Gemma Mind. When a solo founder can use AI to build $1 billion telehealth company, the possibilities are endless, but so are the privacy risks. Area ensures that your personal AI tools operate in a secure, zero-trust sandbox, keeping your data safe. And as the lines blur between independent tech journalism and corporate PR, Gemma Mind delivers the human-verified, technical-grade analysis you need to understand the real impact of these tools on your life. Visit gemgamind.com. Before we dive in, a quick reminder. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to AI Unraveled directly on Apple Podcasts so you can enjoy this daily briefing and all our weekend deep dives completely ads-free. Today, we are talking about the power and the paranoia. Let's unravel what the first solo billion-dollar company means for you.
A $20,000 experiment just, it basically turned into a $1.8 billion pharmaceutical empire in like 60 days.
Right. And the wildest part is that the entire operation is run by exactly 2 people.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, we are literally watching the death of the traditional corporate skyscraper in real time.
It really is a complete inversion of how the global economy has worked for, the last century. I mean, you no longer need physical mass to generate this kind of massive economic gravity.
Exactly. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at this incredible paradox that's emerging from our stack of sources today, which is April 3, 2026.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating mix of tech reporting, political statements, and some space agency press releases.
Right, and we're calling the theme of today's deep dive the power and the paranoia.
Mm-hmm.
Because for you listening, on one hand, you have this unprecedented power to build an empire from your living room couch.
Yeah, true power.
But on the other hand, at this exact same moment, tech corporations are quietly building these massive monopolies that could just, shut that living room empire down tomorrow.
Yeah, the vulnerability is huge. And our mission today is really to analyze all of this through the lens of the individual digital citizen. We need to cut through the noise and figure out what this actually means for the everyday worker.
Totally. So we're going to unpack that solo founder's billion-dollar startup. We'll debate a really stark political warning about AI, examine a super controversial media buyout, and then finally we're going to look to the stars with NASA.
It's a packed stack.
It is. So let's start with the empire side of things. We need to dissect the Medvi miracle.
Yeah, so this New York Times report on Matthew Gallagher is, it's easily the defining business case study of the year.
Oh, without a doubt.
He scaled his startup, Medvi, from that initial $20,000 investment to an astounding $1.8 billion in projected annual sales.
And what blows my mind isn't just the money. I mean, the money is crazy, but it's the mechanism.
Right.
Because for those tracking the healthcare space, Medvi sells GLP-1 weight loss drugs.
Right, which are highly regulated.
Exactly. Complex medical prescriptions. But Gallagher isn't the doctor. He didn't lease a pharmacy. He basically just used off-the-shelf AI tools to construct an entirely automated digital infrastructure.
Yeah.
He starts with ChatGPT, Claude, and Grok to write the foundational code.
Standard tools anyone can get.
Right. Then he feeds prompts into Midjourney and Runway to generate thousands of variations of ad creatives.
And the critical innovation here, the thing that really made this work, is how he handled the physical, real-world friction.
Yeah, the logistics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because selling a regulated drug requires doctors, it requires consultations, physical shipping. Gallagher outsourced all of that by treating physical operations the exact same way a developer treats a software API.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he simply plugged his AI-generated front end into existing telehealth platforms, companies like CareValidate and OpenLoop.
Okay, wait, let's unpack that for the listener because the API concept is super key here.
Yeah, go ahead.
He essentially set up a digital pipeline. So an interested customer talks to an AI customer service agent, which is powered by 11 Labs.
Right.
And if the AI determines the customer is a good fit, the system automatically routes that data to a real human doctor at Care Validate for the actual medical sign-off.
Exactly.
And then that automatically triggers a shipping facility to put the physical medication in a box.
That is the exact mechanism. He built a data router, essentially, not a clinic. And the efficiency is just staggering.
I bet.
$401 million in year one revenue.
That is insane.
Right. With a 16.2% net profit margin, which, just for context, that is triple the margin of a massive publicly traded competitor like Hims.
Triple, wow.
Yeah. And he is already expanding into men's health and meal delivery. And get this, his entire workforce consists of himself and his brother.
Just two guys. I mean, I look at this and I see the modern equivalent of Henry Ford's factory.
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, except instead of thousands of workers and miles of conveyor belts in this massive warehouse, the entire assembly line is just compressed into a single MacBook.
Right.
Gallagher is the factory owner, the foreman, and the assembly line all at once.
Well, the Ford factory analogy works up to a point, but I think it misses a terrifying underlying reality.
Oh, how so?
Henry Ford owned his factory. He owned the machines. Gallagher is just renting his assembly line from OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google.
Ah, right.
We call this the stack vulnerability. He has built a massive skyscraper on digital land that he simply does not own.
That's a great point.
But, keeping the focus on his achievement for a moment, this is the pure realization of the democratization of wealth. The tools to build enterprise-scale value are now completely ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous is almost an understatement at this point. Look at the open source side of things right now. Google's new Gemma 4 models. They've been downloaded over 400 million times. And they have a 31 billion parameter model that's dominating the leaderboards. And just for you listening, a parameter in AI is essentially a simulated neural connection.
Right.
So a 31 billion parameter model is basically like having a hive mind of thousands of THDs that you can just download and run completely offline without internet right on your local machine.
Exactly. And then you add to that interfaces like Cursor 3, which just launched.
Oh yeah, Cursor 3 is wild.
It allows developers to run fleets of local and cloud coding agents in parallel. You are no longer writing lines of code, you are managing a digital staff.
Right.
Like Japanese startups like Sakana AI are rolling out Marlin, which is an autonomous research assistant that just works 8-hour shifts on its own.
Okay, I have to pause and look at the broader implications here.
Yeah.
Because if one guy with a rented digital staff can completely bypass a massive pharmaceutical supply chain, what does this mean for the 9-to-5 job?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Does this mean the average worker is finally empowered to escape middle management and become a solopreneur? Or is this just a massive red flag that Fortune 500 corporations are going to look at Medvi and realize they can fire 90% of their human workforce tomorrow?
Well, that tension is exactly what's driving the intense societal anxiety we are seeing in the news cycle right now. And it brings us directly to the paranoia side of the equation.
Right.
Bernie Sanders just delivered a deeply alarming warning to Congress regarding this exact economic shift.
And really quickly, before we get into the details of what he said, let me just set a boundary for us.
Sure.
We are not here to take a political stance or endorse any specific legislation. We are just analyzing Sanders' statement strictly as a mirror, reflecting this massive wave of digital paranoia that is sweeping the workforce.
Absolutely. Our role is just to read the cultural climate impartially, and Sanders' address was unequivocal.
What did he say exactly?
He stated, quote, "AI is a threat to everything the American people hold dear. It kills jobs, equality, connection, democracy, and maybe the human race. Congress must act." End quote.
Wow. Okay, I struggle with Sanders' statement when we place it next to our previous topic, though.
How do you mean?
Well, think about this from the perspective of an everyday creator or coder listening right now. Is Sanders right that AI destroys equality? Because the Medvi story seems to prove the exact opposite.
Paradox, yeah.
Right. A kid with 20 grand and a laptop just took on giant corporate healthcare monopolies. If anyone can build an empire, isn't that the ultimate democratization of opportunity?
I mean, that depends entirely on how you define equality.
Okay, fair.
Yes, we are seeing incredible equality of opportunity for highly technical, entrepreneurial individuals.
Right, the solopreneurs.
Exactly. But what happens to the millions of people whose livelihoods depend on the very administrative, creative, and coding jobs that these AI agents are now performing for fractions of a penny?
Yeah, that's the dark side of it.
If the global wealth just concentrates into the hands of a few million hyper-successful solopreneurs and the handful of tech giants that own the AI infrastructure, while the traditional middle class completely hollers out, Well, that creates a systemic crisis.
When politicians and tech CEOs are fighting over the future of your job, you need more than a headline. You need forensics. Gemma provides human-verified, technical-grade analysis for the individual navigating these shifts. Visit djamgamind.com.
And, the need to verify information and really audit these shifts is critical right now, especially regarding Sanders' secondary point about AI threatening democracy and truth.
Oh, the media aspect.
Yes, because while we are all mesmerized by the power of the individual solopreneur, the corporations providing these AI tools are quietly making aggressive, sweeping land grabs to control the narrative.
This is where the story gets really claustrophobic, the rise of what we're calling media monopolies. Let's look at OpenAI, for example. They just acquired TBPN.
Right, the Tech Business Podcast Network.
Yeah.
It's a hugely popular daily tech talk show on YouTube and X, hosted by John Coogan and Jordy Hayes. And this is a watershed moment because it marks OpenAI's first outright acquisition of a media property.
Now, OpenAI claims TBPN will maintain complete editorial independence.
Right, sure they do.
Yeah, exactly. Because they are reporting directly to OpenAI's chief political operative, Chris LaFane. I have a really hard time swallowing the editorial independence line here.
It's definitely a stretch.
I mean, OpenAI is a company actively trying to build artificial general intelligence. They're approaching a massive IPO. And now they literally own a high-profile media outlet that covers them, covers their token usage, and covers their competitors.
The conflict of interest is staggering. We are witnessing a scenario where the companies building the foundational models of our future reality are aggressively buying the lenses through which the public views that reality.
It feels like an oil company buying the public relations wing of the Environmental Protection Agency.
That is a perfect analogy.
But it goes deeper than just bad PR, right?
It
changes the feedback loop. If the media entity criticizing an AI company's safety protocols or pricing structures is owned by the chief political operative of that same company, the technical reality being reported back to you, the developer, trying to make informed decisions it's inherently skewed.
Yeah, you can't trust the source anymore. And this consolidation isn't limited to media either. It is happening in fundamental research, too.
What's happening there?
Anthropic just purchased a stealth biotech startup called Coefficient Bio for roughly $400 million.
Wow.
Yeah, they are absorbing all 10 of the startup's computational biology researchers into their healthcare division. And the stated goal is to supercharge their AI model, Claude, with native drug research and development skills.
Wait, which means Anthropic is now in direct competition with the very solopreneurs like Matthew Gallagher, who are using their tools to build healthcare startups.
Bingo!
Think about the irony there. You build your innovative company on their platform, you prove the market exists, and they just buy a specialized startup to build those capabilities natively into the model you are renting from them.
Exactly. They can effectively crush you overnight.
Right.
They control the ecosystem, and even if you manage to navigate the digital monopolies, you still have to deal with the physical ones.
Oh, like the Amazon news.
Right. Amazon just announced a 3.5% fuel surcharge for third-party sellers using their distribution network. This takes effect on April 17th.
And they're blaming gas prices, right?
Yeah, they are citing rising gas prices tied to the ongoing war in Iran and its impact on global oil markets, which, mirrors the supply chain shocks we saw back in 2022.
This perfectly illustrates that stack vulnerability you mentioned earlier.
How so?
Well, you can be a genius solopreneur. You can use Cursor 3 to manage a fleet of coding agents. You can use Gemma 4 to build a massive digital storefront.
Sure.
But if your business involves moving a physical product from point A to point B, you are entirely at the mercy of Amazon's delivery trucks and global geopolitical oil conflicts.
Yeah, your pristine digital assembly line still requires actual dirty diesel fuel down the chain. We have illusionary independence, we wield massive digital power, but we are playing on privately owned servers and relying on privately owned physical logistics.
Yeah.
And perhaps the most blatant, aggressive example of this cross-platform leverage is happening right now with Elon Musk and X.
Oh my God, this story out of the New York Times is wild.
It's crazy.
Musk is allegedly making X subscriptions mandatory for any bank, law firm, auditor, or advisor who wants a seat at the table for SpaceX's highly anticipated IPO.
Right. Major financial institutions are reportedly spending tens of millions of dollars on mandatory X and Grok subscriptions simply to ingratiate themselves.
Just to play the game.
Exactly. And why? Because the SpaceX IPO is projected to bring in over $50 billion in fresh capital at a valuation well over $1 trillion.
Wow.
The advisory fees alone will be astronomical. So Musk is using his physical leverage, the fact that he builds the world's most successful rockets, to force institutional adoption of his digital social media and AI platforms.
Look, the AI landscape is moving too fast. Etienne has done the heavy lifting for the AI Unraveled community. Head over to djamgaymind.com/toolkit for the AI Executive Toolkit. It's a hand-picked, forensic-vetted implementation stack featuring tools like Chatbase, 11 Labs, and AII, complete with exclusive listener perks.
And I'll just say, having a vetted stack is non-negotiable right now because the foundation of this industry is remarkably unstable.
Right.
We are watching tech giants project an image of omnipotence, but behind the scenes, it's totally chaotic. I mean, Anthropic is currently dealing with massive user complaints about Claude burning through tokens far too quickly.
And that's not even the worst part.
Not at all. Furthermore, 512,000 lines of their Claude code CLI source code just leaked to the public.
Yeah, a leak of that magnitude is just catastrophic.
It's huge.
From what the reports say, it happened because of an exposed map file. And for anyone listening who isn't in software engineering, think of an exposed map file like, building a massive state-of-the-art bank vault, but accidentally leaving the original architectural blueprints on a public park bench outside.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Anyone who finds it can see exactly how the security is wired, where the data flows, and how the entire structure is built. Competitors are tearing that code apart as we speak.
The digital realm is just messy. It is defined by cutthroat competition, unpredictable leaks, and this rapid monopoly consolidation.
Honestly, it's exhausting just talking about it.
It really is.
We are swimming in this sea of digital paranoia, token burning, source code leaks, and media buyouts. But amidst all of this hyper-extracted, screen-based chaos, our sources also gave us a profound reminder of physical human reality.
The Artemis mission.
Yes. We need to talk about NASA and the Artemis return.
NASA just launched the Artemis II mission. 4 astronauts are currently hurtling toward the moon aboard the Space Launch System and the Orion capsule.
It's amazing.
This is an incredible milestone. It is the first crewed flight beyond low Earth orbit in more than 50 years.
Over 50 years. You know, our society has been so heads down, completely absorbed by our phones, our AI prompts, and our digital empires, that it's genuinely jarring to look up and realize human beings are physically returning to the moon.
Yeah, it snaps you back to reality.
It really does. And the mechanics of this mission are incredibly tactile. Pilot Victor Glover isn't just letting an algorithm do all the work. He's actually going to manually fly the Orion spacecraft.
Right, the manual flight is a critical component of the mission parameters. He will take manual control and fly the Orion capsule within about 30 feet of the spent upper stage in a complex rendezvous demonstration.
30 feet in space, that's so close.
Oh, yeah. And he has to test all 6 degrees of freedom.
Let's clarify that for everyone, because 6 degrees of freedom sounds like a sci-fi concept, but it's just pure physics.
Go for it.
In a car, you basically move forward, backward, left, and right. But in the vacuum of space, Glover has to manually control the spacecraft, moving up and down, side to side, forward and backward, while simultaneously managing the pitch, yaw, and roll of the capsule.
Right.
And he's doing all of this 30 feet away from a massive piece of orbital debris.
Exactly that level of complexity. It is all about building absolute confidence in the manual systems for future lunar dockings.
Makes sense.
Furthermore, NASA has built strict physical safety protocols into the timeline, what they refer to as off-ramps.
Oh, the safety checks.
Yeah, they will meticulously check the life support performance after the severe, violent vibration of launch. If those physical systems do not meet rigorous expectations, they have the immediate ability to abort the lunar flyby and bring the crew home safely.
I want to zoom out for a second and ask you to connect these two worlds for the listener.
Yeah.
In a society that is increasingly obsessed with artificial intelligence, abstract data models, and simulated realities, what is the psychological, human significance of Victor Glover physically taking the manual controls of a spacecraft in the lethal vacuum of space?
It serves as the ultimate anchor to reality.
Right.
In our digital lives, we are aggressively abstracting everything. We're outsourcing our critical thinking, our software development, and our creative writing to predictive language models.
Yeah, we outsource our brains.
Exactly. But deep space exploration demands absolute, unforgiving physical accountability. You cannot prompt your way out of a life support failure.
Wow. Yeah.
There is no AI agent on Earth that can replace the sheer human courage required to sit strapped inside a metal capsule, feel the bone-rattling physical vibrations of a controlled chemical explosion, and take manual control of a spacecraft.
It's profound.
It is a stark reminder of our fragile physical limits, but also of our irreplaceable, innate drive to explore the actual universe, not just the digital ones we simulate on our screens.
It really snaps our daily anxieties into perspective, especially when you contrast human beings braving the journey to the moon with the petty, bureaucratic disputes happening right alongside it.
Oh, the satellite drama.
Yeah. While Artemis launches, SpaceX is busy filing an FCC complaint against Amazon because Amazon's low Earth orbit satellites are allegedly flying 50 to 90 kilometers higher than authorized, raising collision risks.
It's absurd.
We literally have billionaires arguing with each other over digital satellite altitudes, while 4 humans put their lives on the line in deep space.
We are simultaneously inhabiting 2 completely different realities. We have the chaotic, hyperscale digital world where a $1.8 billion company can be spun up in a living room using rented algorithms.
Yeah.
And we have the unforgiving physical world where chemistry, orbital mechanics, and human bravery still govern everything.
Well, we have covered an immense amount of ground today. We started by dissecting the Medvi miracle, proving that a solopreneur with a laptop and a suite of off-the-shelf AI tools can bypass traditional systems and build a massive empire.
We analyze the extreme digital paranoia sweeping the workforce and the very real warnings about the hollowing out of jobs inequality.
And we examined the dark underbelly of that technological power, the media monopolies and the aggressive corporate overreach,
Yeah.
OpenAI buying the journalists who cover them, Anthropic buying biotech startups to crush their own platform users, and Amazon flexing its physical distribution leverage over digital creators.
It's all connected.
The democratization of wealth creation is undeniably happening, but it is taking place inside walled gardens, owned by a very small group of incredibly powerful entities.
The power and the paranoia, it all routes back to that image of the skyscraper we discussed at the beginning. The traditional corporate monolith hasn't actually disappeared. It has simply been abstracted.
Right.
The massive factory floor is now just a quiet digital workspace on your laptop. But the conveyor belts, the raw materials, the underlying neural networks of your new digital factory, those are still owned by someone else.
You have to audit your dependencies.
Yeah.
You have to know what you own and what you are merely renting. Absolutely.
And as we watch 4 human beings manually pilot a spacecraft back toward the moon, we are granted a profound reminder that no matter how sophisticated our digital tools become, the physical world and ultimate human agency within it cannot be entirely outsourced.
So we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you navigate your own digital workspace today.
Yeah.
If a solo founder can build a billion-dollar empire entirely on the backs of corporate-owned AI models, and those exact same massive corporations now control the news you read, the servers you build on, and the physical shipping lanes you rely on, who actually holds the real power in the end, the human creator or the digital platform?
That is the question.
Subscribe to AI Unraveled on Apple Podcasts to enjoy this human interest briefing completely ads-free.
That concludes our human interest rundown for April 3rd. The signal for today is individual agency. You are living in a moment where the ceiling has been completely removed. If a single person in a living room can build a billion-dollar company using the exact same AI tools that you have sitting on your phone right now, then the only thing holding you back is execution. But as you build your future, remember to guard your truth. When the companies building the intelligence start buying the news stations that report on them, your critical thinking becomes your most valuable asset. And if you want to harness these tools for yourself, I've got you covered. Look, the AI landscape moves faster than a hallucinating LLM on a double espresso, which is why I've done the heavy lifting for you. Stop scrolling through generic top 10 lists and head over to the AI Executive Toolkit at djamgamine.com/toolkit. I've handpicked and forensic vetted every tool on this list, from Chatbase and 11 Labs to to Area and Google Workspace to ensure they meet the rigorous standards of a professional and the high-stakes needs of the AI Unraveled community. Consider this your curated implementation stack, complete with exclusive listener perks. This episode was made possible by Area and Gemma. If you want to keep your daily news human and completely ad-free, hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts. I'm Etienne Newman. Stay human and keep unraveling the future. And before you go, if your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamind.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.